We have recently been asked why these issues of abortion, pro-life, and the right to choose has not been addressed. And there is a simple answer. Because most people do not have the information and knowledge to actually discuss this topic. People seem to think that they know when life begins. Yet people do not know when life begins. People do not know when the soul enters into a human being. Doctors will sometimes tell you that they can give you a scientific definition of when life begins. But even that is questionable. And clergymen of all ilks will tell you that they know when life begins because they know what their religion teaches. But do they know when the soul enters the being? Do they know when a human is actually existing? Do they know when the body and the spirit becomes one? Should these questions now be answered? There is so much disagreement. For there are those who would tell you that when the sperm meets the egg, that is the beginning of the life. Yet science could also tell you that the egg is already alive and the sperm is already alive. And then there is the science saying, but it's not a viable being until there is a heartbeat or a brain wave. But that's still just an animal body. And then the clergyman will say, it is a life as soon as it is begotten. But can they tell you what begotten really is? And where is that spirit? Is it dwelling in the sperm or the egg? Is that spirit dwelling outside of the mother or the father? Is it dwelling inside the body of the mother? Is it dwelling in the essence of the being? When does it begin to dwell in the being? And religions have differed on this. Yes, even when the spirit enters the being as a conception of life, has been a great variance in religions. And explain why a law as harsh as the laws of Moses did not count a fetus as a human being. If a woman was struck, whoever struck her was responsible for any injury that was caused to the woman, but was not held liable if such caused a miscarriage. Such did not count as a human life or as a murder under Mosaic law. And that was a very, very strict set of laws. If such a stringent law did not consider that murder, then was it a viable life form? Then was the spirit already in it? Yet, Elizabeth said to Mary, I know the child within you is holy, for the child within my womb leaps with joy, indicating that both children were fairly far along, and that John was far enough along to already be kicking and leaping with joy. Often Christians say, well, this is proof that a child in the womb is already a viable life. And yet, children are literally stillborn because the spirit is not in them at full maturity of the fetus. So, what we are telling you is this. If you think that you are going to make a law that actually fulfills what science knows, you won't do so because science doesn't know yet where life begins. It truly doesn't. It can tell you when there is a viable life, and even that doesn't tell you if there is a spirit. And your religions, well, they disagree. What your clergymen can tell you is what they have been taught, or what they think, what they believe, not what they know, because they don't truly know, they believe, they think they know. So, if you do not have what you need to actually know the answers, how can you argue such an issue? But we do tell you this. There is one true religion, and that is love. And love must be your guide. Love and compassion must be your guide. Some people will say it is because of love that all children must be given a chance to survive. Other people will say it is because of love and compassion that we will not bring a child into this world unless we know it can be properly cared for and properly nourished and properly educated. Well, this brings us to another issue. So many people talk about being pro-life or right to life. What they are is not pro-life. They are pro-birth because they are the same people who are warmongers, who allow children to starve on the other side of the world while they build mansions. They are people who are interested in themselves and not the rest of the world. So, if they were truly pro-life, they would not be so anxious to populate the world just to have more soldiers. And by the way, that is where the laws restricting birth control ultimately come from. Ruling classes wanted more warriors, more citizens to fight, more citizens to sustain the economy, more citizens to be slaves to the wealthy. And when you start really understanding, what you have to ask is, where is the compassion? Where is the compassion? Some will say, a woman has this right. Some will say, the fetus has this right. We tell you, you do not have the right to make that judgment because you don't know how to make that judgment. Therefore, it must be left to the individual to make with compassion and love. So, now you're going to say, does that mean that you are pro-choice? And we're going to just redirect you and say this. We are pro-love. If it is done with love, it is the right choice. If it is done because a law makes you do it, if it is done because some old white man sitting somewhere thinks that every black woman, every red woman, and every young white girl that has been raped must have a child, then it is wrong. Because they're not acting out of love, they're acting out of their own fears and their own perversity of belief and their own lack of knowledge. So, whether you like what we say or not, we say this to you. We are pro-love. Make your choices with love, and they will be the right choices. We leave you with blessings and with peace. Peace be with each of you.